The Invincible series has a massive problem. And it's one of those things that I don't think there's a clear or cut solution on how to solve it. But it is enough to completely alter how someone might enjoy the show. Spoilers, it's spoilers. For starters, I love Invincible. It's one of those shows that I watched as soon as an episode was available, got myself a bowl of cereal, and enjoyed my superhero violence on a Thursday morning. There's something so special about coming back every week to see what Mark has to face off against. And season 3 might be the best season so far. In fact, the season 3 finale went so hard I ended up buying the Invincible skin on Fortnite just to show my support. And I know people love to bash on the animation of the series too, as certain scenes might not be as polished as others. Many love to make the joke about the PNGs floating across the screen, and I'm not here to say it's perfect either, but it's never been enough to pull me out of the enjoyment of the show. The show looks good enough to properly communicate what they're trying to do, mainly because the writing and the voice acting are so top-notch. I get so swept up in the drama that I'm not worried if Mark's hair looks weird in a specific frame, and then when they need to step up the quality, they put their whole backs into it, in the moments that need it the most. The final 2 episodes of the season had me absolutely flabbergasted, popping off and crying and screaming with how well they cooked. And I'm not here to talk about the economics of animation and how they have limited budgets or time frames they have to complete, because I truly just don't care. The show is just so entertaining as a whole that I'm not bothered by it. To me, Invincible is one of the best TV series out there right now. But, and this is a massive but, there's this cultural issue around the show that has prevented it from really hitting those high notes. The thing that makes the show go from, oh my god, to, oh wow, that was pretty cool. And it's that this is the most spoiled television series I have ever seen. In my years of consuming media, I have never seen what has happened with Invincible happen with anything else. Between the mixture of hype and the sharing of information, Invincible won't be able to reach those narrative heights because all the answers are already out there. And I wanted to talk about it because I know I'm not the only one who has experienced this. This video will feature spoilers for the first 3 seasons of the show, just a heads up. And before I get into it, let me know in the comment section below, who is your favorite Invincible character? Debbie's been up there for me as she's been the rock basically holding everyone else down, being a firm hand for both Mark and Oliver to listen to and adjust their morality in certain situations. Then there's Mark himself and how his perspective on being a superhero has shifted between each episode. His indomitable human spirit and how he never quits even in the most dire situations. Then there's Donald.
That's my purse! I don't know you!
He's a treat every time he's on the screen, but there's still so many to choose from. And while you're down there, please be sure to hit that like button. I would love to make more videos, and your support is very much appreciated. So Invincible, the TV show, is an adaptation of a comic that's been around for a long time, starting up in 2003 and concluding with its final issue back in 2018. The comic has been around for so long, you can see Bobby reading a copy on an episode of King of the Hill. With the show being an adaptation of this comic, the entire story of the series is out there in the wild. At any point, you can read the comics and find out everything that's going to happen from start to finish. Now, this isn't like an adaptation of a normal book where the source material is just the words. The comic is a visual experience where a single frame can garner up so much information. All it takes for you to put together what happens is just by looking at it for a few seconds. In fact, a lot of the critiques around the show are how the content is adapted from the comic to the TV series, and how accurate the TV show is to the comic source material. Invincible is the show that's closest to dealing with the same thing anime-only viewers have to deal with, where in most animes there's a manga version out there that has everything already laid out. The manga ends up building up popularity and then it ends up being made into a TV series. But people just like to watch the anime version when it releases. It's much easier to watch a TV show than it is to read a manga, obviously. Now, this is a super common thing when it comes to consuming Japanese media, but I think this is the first time something like this has happened with an American series, where most of the people who have seen the Invincible TV series might not have even known that the show is from a comic, and most adaptations of American comics are pretty loose from what happens in the TV shows or the movies, but Invincible the show is fairly consistent with what happens in the comics. Of course, there's a few modernizations with the content, but for the most part, the series keeps the most important thematic moments from the comics. Now, I'm someone who just likes to watch the TV series instead, the anime-only equivalent of a consumer. I just like seeing the pictures moving and the voice acting, all of the bells and whistles. But spoilers have evolved so much in how they're being presented. Like, I know better when it comes to consuming new media. If there's a new popular movie coming out in the theaters, I know that I have until opening weekend to watch it myself. Not only because the internet itself will be full of spoilers for that weekend after, but rather the conversation around the show is hot and everyone's gonna be talking about it. If you didn't go see Sonic 3 within the first week, you're gonna see the clips of it online. If you don't catch the episode when it airs, you'll be hiding from the internet until you can catch it. It's a societal pressure to watch shows as soon as possible so you don't get that feeling of FOMO. But the internet has evolved and spoiler culture has evolved so much because of one big thing. And I know this is not something that's unique to me. So let me paint you a picture. You decide to go on TikTok, Instagram Reels, or YouTube Shorts. Basically the websites that are designed to feed you content with a single scroll. You get a few cat videos, maybe some people doing some dance challenges, maybe even some political content or news to keep you informed. But then the very next swipe shows someone displaying an Invincible comic panel from something that hasn't happened in the TV show just yet. Or rather, something that happens so far in advance you can't even comprehend what you're looking at. I remember scrolling once on TikTok and one swipe basically gave me the entire ending of Invincible. This is not information that I was searching for, it just appeared right on my lap, because that's how these feeds are designed. This isn't like YouTube spoilers where you can see a thumbnail and know better not to click it. If a video is titled Invincible spoilers, then you kinda get the gist to avoid it. But rather, the spoiler is force-fed to you and you cannot forget the information you have seen. You can mute as many keywords and phrases as possible. You can block out artists, people who work on the show, people who share comic content. But if the feed gods decide it's time for you to see this, you might be one thumb scroll away from having the whole illusion be shattered. It's happened to me a few times throughout the course of the show. For example, in the season 3 finale, there's a moment where Eve gets her entire guts punched out. She's bloodied on the floor, seeming like Conquest has taken the life of Mark's love. And Steven Yeun's voice acting performance is phenomenal and really sells the severity of the moment. It really looks like she's been taken off the map. Oh wait, I saw the comic panel where she comes back about a year ago because someone posted that moment on TikTok, completely deflating that moment when I saw it in the show. And that's not the only time something like this has happened. Do you remember that scene in the show where Invincible is trapped in the future and an older Guardians of the Globe ends up locating him and helping him return to his time? And right after older Eve says her goodbyes, she tells Robot to shut up and ends up calling him Rex. That's pretty strange. I wonder why she did that. That's obviously not Rex, that's Rudy just all grown up. I get that mystery completely shattered when I came across a short breaking down this moment right here, telling me that Rexplode eventually dies and Rudy ends up taking his name. And this is something that was told to me long before season 3 even started. I went through the entirety of season 3 knowing that Rex was gonna get cooked from the very beginning, making it not as strong of a narrative note when it finally did happen in the show. It's that need that the internet has to give the answers to everything instead of just letting it linger. So many people making jokes about the death of a major character long before many could even experience it. There are so many things like that that I've seen against my will from the series that I wish I hadn't. Certain plot points and characters that would have been totally dope to see for the first time has been given to me out of context without any type of warning. Is it possible to be an animation only fan of Invincible in the modern era? Anime fans right now are looking at me like, first time? Yes, actually, this is my first time and I cannot stand it. Like, I know how the show is going to end because of something like this. It's a tough position to be in considering how the internet is designed these days. If you show interest in something, it's going to feed you as much of that stuff as possible. And I don't really see any solution to this problem. Of course, I'm aware that the journey is the destination for these kinds of things, and seeing the comics come to life on a small screen is a treat all on its own, but when the big narrative moments are fed to me in different ways, when we actually get to those big moments in the show, they won't hit nearly as hard, versus seeing them blind in the show how the writers would have had designed it. And it's hard to complain about this sometimes because I see the other side of the argument. The amount of Invincible edits that I loved online is crazy. I could honestly spend hours just looking at them because the community is so passionate and hilarious. It gets to a point where if I see a comic page, I just start running. So what's the actual solution for something like this? Do I just avoid the internet for several years while Amazon is cooking the show behind the scenes, knowing that the scene that I saw basically got spoiled and won't be animated for like another 4 or 5 years? I basically need to go live under a rock until the series is finished animating. The real solution would be to go and purchase the comics yourself and experience it that way. That way the rest of the world can't do it for you. Even then, that solution might not work for some who have already been spoiled. You know that episode of SpongeBob where Mr. Krabs is basically sucking the information out of that one fish? Yeah, I need that to happen to me. I wanted to bring this up now because we're entering a hiatus for Invincible, and we probably won't see the show again for a year or so as they cook up season 4, and a lot of content around the show is talking about what happens next. And you can't even try to speculate too much because the comics are out there with the answers. Although I will give credit where credit is due, the writers of the show have mentioned that they want to bring back cut plot lines from the comics, making for some original animated content separated from the source material, and that's super cool to see stuff like that get a second chance. Honestly, I'll take what I can get at this point. Regardless, I'll be there every Thursday morning with a bowl of cereal when we return, because the show itself is still spectacular. Even when I know where the story is going, it's the steps to get there that makes the whole trip special. I just wish those big moments weren't served to me on an algorithmically made silver platter. For all my folks out there who consume anime often, how do you guys deal with this? I'm not saying this isn't something that hasn't happened to American content before, but Invincible is fairly massive and continuing to get more popular with every season. What is the answer here? I am looking for suggestions, because currently this is an issue that I don't even think can fix. I did want to read the comics eventually to see the differences between it and the show, but now it's looking like a requirement for me to save those big narrative moments. Regardless, I think the show is incredible, a real treat from start to finish. To see someone who tries to keep doing good even when being dealt the most horrible hand I've ever seen, how all of these tragedies would change a lesser person, but Invincible keeps on standing. It's a testament to his willpower to see how much he can take before he breaks, and something we can all aspire to be. Strong even when the world demands us to fall to our knees, but giving us the strength to get up every single time. What a great show. I love it so much. But of course, let me know what you guys think. Have you been spoiled for Invincible without your permission? Accidentally stumbling across a video you shouldn't have seen? Or are you completely pure from spoilers? Truly, I'm jealous. Thank you all so much for watching. Please be sure to comment, like, subscribe, and stay